And now, in the stillness of this moment, we bring you the final thrilling chapter.
Welcome to Twilight Howl, where shadows stir and darkness whispers. Every tale beats with life. Can you feel its pulse? Will you dare to listen? Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, remember, the night has many voices. Sleep, if you can. We having fun now. There's something about Halloween, a touch of curiosity, soft whisper, that makes the shadows darker. The wind colder, and every sound a warning, true accounts that reveal what's hiding, when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. Every school has its legends, whispers of things that roam the hallways when everyone's gone home. For Jessica and her friends, Halloween was the perfect night to see if the stories were true. A group of teenagers in Halloween costumes stands at the entrance of the dark hallway. One of them nervously looks over their shoulder, holding a flashlight. The others exchange uneasy glances.
Relax, it's just a stupid hallway.
Laughed Mike. But even he wasn't sure why the air felt so heavy. The lights flicker occasionally, casting long shadows. At the far end of the hallway, a shadowy figure stands motionless, barely distinguishable in the darkness.
Can we please go back home? I'm really scared.
Jessica asked. She asked, her eyes wide and searching, like a child lost in a storm. The thrill of exploring the haunted hallway had vanished, replaced by a sinking fear that she never should have invited them here. The group standing in the middle of the hallway. That's when they saw it. No, felt it. A presence just beyond the reach of the light. A silhouette that wasn't there before. The flashlight in Mike's hand flickers, and the shadow at the end of the hall seems to move slightly closer. And then it moved, slowly, deliberately, the sound of footsteps echoing in perfect sync with their pounding hearts. The shadowy figure at the end of the hallway, now clearly visible as a faceless entity. A cold, dark aura emanates from it, and the temperature seems to drop.
Run, she whispered.
No one moved until the lights went out completely. I remember the first time I stumbled onto this field. The wind was howling and the sky bled into night. A barren cornfield at sunset, shadows stretching ominously. A lone scarecrow stands tall, its tattered clothing swaying eerily in the breeze. But what caught my attention, Maynette, was the post. There was something different about it. At first, I didn't understand why, but then I looked closer. It wasn't just any scarecrow. This place had seen something far worse. As the sun dipped low over the barren cornfield, the scarecrow stood crooked and still, casting a long shadow across the cracked earth. Its straw-stuffed body sagged, barely holding together, yet there was something unnerving about its presence. Too still, too human in the fading light. The quiet of the field pressed in, heavy and suffocating, as if the land itself held its breath, waiting for something to move. A small group of teenagers walked cautiously through the barren cornfield, their nervous laughter cutting through the quiet. Against the eerie vastness of the field, they seemed tiny, dwarfed by the fading light. As they neared the scarecrow, one of them, trying to mask his unease, took a swing at it, knocking its straw-filled arm to the side.
See? Nothing happened. Just an old rumor.
He said with a shaky laugh, turning to the others. But the words hung in the air, falling flat against the unsettling silence that followed. As they left the barren cornfield behind and headed into the neighborhood for trick-or-treating, the tension hadn't fully faded. The group's laughter felt forced, uneasy, and as they neared the next house, Sophia broke her silence. She leaned in closer to the boy who'd hit the Scarecrow, her voice tight with both fear and frustration.
Why did you hit it? You promised we'd just check it out, not mess with it.
The boy shrugged, flashing a careless grin as if nothing had happened.
Chill out, Sophia. It's just a scarecrow. Sophia is an emperor rabbitor.
He said, then snapped his fingers playfully. He shouted, breaking into a laugh before running up to the next door.
Trick or treat. Happy Halloween.
He called, leaving her behind with a mix of anger and unease still twisting in her chest. Every night, the Scarecrow would creep closer, and every morning, they'd wake up with scratches and bruises they couldn't explain. One night and the Scarecrow was gone, just gone. They should have run then, but instead, they stayed. A dark figure nailed to the post, backlit by the pale light of a full moon. The shape is human, body limp, arms spread like a broken doll. They found him the next morning, just like the Scarecrow he once mocked, nailed to the post, limbs twisted, eyes wide open. But what's worse, there's a part of me that believes it's not over, that somewhere out there, the Scarecrow still waits. The sound of rustling corn and the cawing of crows fades out, and a soft breeze blows. I've lived on Willow Street my whole life. I remember playing on this street as a kid, and there's one thing every kid in the neighborhood knows: the haunted dollhouse at the end of the street. We called it that because, well, it looks like one of those creepy old-fashioned dollhouses. Small, run-down, but instead of being cute, it was just downright creepy. Willow Street always had this strange vibe. Even in broad daylight, you couldn't walk down it without feeling like something was watching you. The willow trees lining the street drooped low, their branches hanging like long fingers brushing the ground. As kids, yeah, I was one of them. We always felt like those trees were guarding the haunted house, like they were warning us to stay away. When I was younger, I used to hear all sorts of weird stories from the neighbors about that house. Mrs. Jenkins, who lived closest to it, would swear she heard strange noises at night.
It sounds like silverware clinking, like someone's having dinner in there,
she'd say. And every year, on Halloween night, she'd hear the sounds of a party coming from that place, like some wild celebration happening behind those boarded-up windows. She wasn't the only one. Other neighbors claimed they'd heard children giggling or the sound of feet running around inside the house, even though it's been abandoned for as long as anyone can remember. The weirdest part, no one ever dared to check. Even the grown-ups stayed clear of that house, especially on Halloween night. The house sat at the end of the street, like it had been there since forever. The windows were boarded up, the wood rotting, and the bricks crumbling, as if the whole thing was one strong wind away from collapse. And then there was the attic light, the creepy glow that showed up every year. Like clockwork, every Halloween night that light flickered on in the attic. No earlier, no later, just right on time, every single year. Back when we were kids, we used to dare each other to go inside on Halloween night. I remember Billy, he was the bravest one in the group, saying,
I'm gonna go in and see what's up with that light.
We all stood back, watching from a safe distance, of course. Billy walked up to the front door, his hand on the rusty doorknob, but just as he was about to turn it, there was this loud noise from inside. Needless to say, we all bolted. Even Billy, the fearless one, came running. Afterward, he swore he'd heard voices and the sound of dishes clattering inside the house.
It was like someone was having dinner in there,
he said. But how could that be? The house had been empty for decades. That year, none of us dared go near the house again, not even Billy. And every year after, the attic light still flickered on, as if waiting for someone to accept the dare. Last Halloween, I figured I'd be brave enough to check it out myself. I wasn't a scared kid anymore. and I thought maybe all the stories were just urban legends. I walked down Willow Street, the willow branches rustling in the wind, the air turning chilly. The breeze was soft, but it carried this eerie sense of foreboding. As I got closer to the house, everything got uncomfortably quiet. No kids playing, no cars in the distance, just me and the house. I walked up the creaky wooden steps to the front door, each step creaking under my weight. When I got to the door, a faint musty smell hit me, like damp wood mixed with something rotten. But I wasn't going to chicken out. I grabbed the doorknob, and the second I did, I heard that sound again. The sound of cutlery clinking, just like Mrs. Jenkins and Billy had described. Yeah, this is definitely not the kind of dinner party I'm looking to crash, I muttered to myself and turned around. I'm pretty sure I heard a soft laugh from somewhere inside the house, like it was mocking me for chickening out. I left that house, but the sound stayed with me. And the stories about the Willow Street house, they never went away. I haven't gone back since, and I don't plan to anytime soon, especially not on Halloween. I froze, my heart racing. It all felt way too real, so I took a step back. Just then, before I could make a decision, the door creaked open, revealing nothing but pitch-black darkness inside.
And so, dear listeners, our time together comes to an end, but the stories, they never truly fade. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your heart steady, for the unknown awaits. This has been Twilight Howl. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and have a great day. See you next time.